gorgeous people? This is Amber's DIY and other stuff. My name is Amber Meeks, and in today's video I have 3 super fun Christmas in July DIYs. We have a lot to cover, so without further ado, let's jump into this thing. Okay, for this first DIY, I'm going to start with 3 paper towel rolls, and I'm going to cut them in half lengthwise, and then I'm going to glue them together so that I can create a base to create what is going to become a Pac-Man gnome.
Making our Christmas memories.
Okay guys, so now that we have all of those pieces glued together, what I'm going to do to reinforce it is add some Gorilla Tape to the inside of this just to make sure everything's going to stay nice and secure and it's not going to fall apart on me. So after I add the Gorilla Tape, I had a little bit of excess on the one, so I'm just simply going to cut that off, and then we're going to fold this into a cone. So I do this when I make my ribbon trees all of the time, so I do this quite often. This is actually the hardest part about this DIY, but once you get it folded into the cone, you're just going to glue everything into place, level it out so that it sits flat, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Me, hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.
Okay guys, so for this next part, I'm going to glue some fabric to just the bottom part of this cone here, because once I put the beard on, I don't want you to see any of that paper towel roll underneath. So I decided to add fabric, but you could totally just paint this just as well. But I decided to add the fabric because I thought it would be a quick, easy way for me to get the look that I was going for and not have to wait for the paint to dry. And I would probably have had to have done several coats of the paint. So that's why I just opted for this fabric that I had sitting around, because it was the exact color of what I needed. So that's why I just rolled with that. Now I'm just going to tuck this underneath and just, move on to the next part. Okay, so now we're ready to start working on the beard. So I have this piece of cardboard that I measured that would be the right length of the beard that I would need. You guys would just need to measure and see how long you want yours to be and do the exact same thing. Then I'm just going to take the yarn and wrap it around this several times. I can't tell you how many times I wrapped it. I just wrapped it until I felt that I had enough yarn on there. There's really no rhyme and reason to what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to cut that off, and then I'm just going to cut off one end of this wrap around yarn that I've done here. Then with the other end, I'm going to gather it together. I'm going to take a piece of yarn and just tie it together. So I'm going to make several bundles like this, and this is what we're going to use to make our beard. So I'm just going to take some glue, plop that on there, put it in the place that I think looks good, and add all of these little bundles to form the beard of the gnome.
Even care what we do if I spend it with you. Just you and nobody else. It's so good to see you.
Okay, the next thing we're going to work on is the hat, and I have this ghost stencil, so I just want the bottom part of the ghost stencil, so I'm just tracing out that very bottom part of the ghost stencil onto an existing Santa hat that I already have. So just going to trace that out, then cut it out, and we're going to move on to the next part.
Christmas memories. I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.
Okay, now that we have that done, I just slipped it right back onto the tree cone here, and now I'm feeling where the top part of the tree cone is so that I can round off that top to make it look more like a ghost. Then I just found out that, you know what, this tree cone's just a little too long, so I just cut a little bit more of it off so that I can round this ghost off to the point where it looks more like a Pac-Man ghost. I just felt that top was just way too pointed, so I kept playing with it until I was happy with the way that it looked. And then once I finally get the look that I'm going for, I'm going to go ahead and turn this hat inside out so that I can glue that top seam down. And then once I do that, I'm going to turn it right side out. Then I'm going to take it and glue it right onto this, what's going to be this Pac-Man gnome.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But This is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new. 'Cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you. These are the good times with you, baby.
Okay, now that the hat is done, I'm going to take this red pom-pom and I'm going to use that for my little gnome nose. So I'm just going to find the right part on this little gnome to put the nose. And then I have a couple of googly eyes that I'm going to use to put on the hat to represent the Pac-Man ghost, because this was a Pac-Man themed gnome. So I thought that would be really cute to add some little googly eyes. After I add those on, guys, this DIY is done and it turned out so stinking cute and I just love it.
Oh, oh. Making our Christmas memories. I've been wrapping presents for you. I've been hanging marbles in the tree. And I've lit my house with Christmas lights. So you should come back home to me. And when we wake up in the morning, I'm gonna play those carols that you love.
Okay, for this next DIY, I'm going to paint these wood circles yellow. So I wish I knew what size these wood circles were, but I really have no idea. But you can use whatever size suits whatever your decor is. I'm working on some ornaments that we're going to do for yet another Pac-Man themed DIY. So I also have these Halloween, they're calling them DIY pins, and they have little clothespins on the back of them, and they're ghost. So again, perfect for this particular DIY. So the first thing that I thought I would do is go ahead and sand those down to get all the black part off of there. And I started doing it and I'm like, oh, this is so not working. So my next option was to go ahead and just paint them white with some white chalk paint, just so that you couldn't see the black through what we're going to be doing to these. And I just didn't think that it would look right. So that's why I was so concerned about getting that black part off, or at least disguising it just a little bit. After I did that, I realized, I was like, oh, I should have cut these little arms off, because the Pac-Man ghosts do not have arms. So I have what's called cardboard scissors, and these work really good for things like this because this wood isn't very strong. So I just cut the arms off and then I sanded them down to make them nice and smooth. So once I get done with that, this is looking much more like the Pac-Man kind of ghost. So I did that with all of the other ones. Now the next part that I want to do, I have my wood circles painted yellow. So I'm going to take some Mod Podge. I'm just going to put Mod Podge on the top part of this, and then I'm going to add some yellow glitter because I really wanted to make this bling. I was making this for somebody in particular, and they like things that are sparkly and pretty. So I thought that the glitter would be a nice touch for this, and that's why I did it this way. So after I did it to all of the circles, I did this exact same thing to all of the ghost in random different colors to represent the Pac-Man ghost. Okay, so now that that's done, I have this little piece of paper that I printed off a Pac-Man figure from online, and I was like, okay, we need to cut the Pac-Man mouth into these circles. So I'm using those scissors again because they're really good for something like this. Now, if you don't have scissors that are strong enough to do this, you could always use wire cutters or something like that would work just as good as the scissors did. I end up going back in with some wire cutters just to make that little point at the very top a little more defined. Once I do all of that, I just sand it down so that the mouth is nice and smooth, and then we're ready to move on to the next step.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find it.
Okay, so now that the mouth is ready to roll, I'm going to take this mini clothespin and glue it to the back part of this little Pac-Man so that I have a way to hang him onto the tree. So obviously I'm going to repeat this process with all of the circles, but yeah, this one needed a little hanger because I didn't have one like the ghost did. So what I'm going to do with the ghost is to make them look more like the Pac-Man ghost is add some little googly eyes. So if it was a red ghost, then I added some red eyes. If it was blue, I added blue. You guys get the idea here. Once I do that, this DIY is ready to roll, and I just love how it turned out.
Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been
Okay guys, so here it is when it's dark, And I just added like a little mini tree skirt that I had, and then I added some of those, I did some beaded garland and just added that on there. Obviously, I made a nice bow for the top of the tree. I just think this is so incredibly cute, and I absolutely love it, and so did the person I made it for. Okay, guys, for this last DIY, I have these 3 cake circles, and I really wish that I could remember what size they were, but I'm really not sure. I think they're between 12 and 14 inches, and then I'm going to take some blue acrylic paint, and I'm going to paint the cardboard looking side because I wanted the back side to look clean and finished, and I thought the white looked much better than the cardboard. So then I have these printables that I bought from Etsy. They are Rudolph themed, obviously, and I printed them off on some fabric paper with just my regular printer. So I'm going to go ahead and carefully cut these images out to the best of my ability. Obviously, I'm not going to get in all the nooks and crannies, but I'm going to cut them out as best as I possibly can to make them look as much like the characters as I can. So the next thing that I want to do is take some Mod Podge, and guys, I used way too much Mod Podge here. I thought, let's just pour some on there, and then I would just went a little bit of crazy. So what I end up doing is just adding some to the circles that are beside this one because I just had way too much Mod Podge. Nonetheless, once I cover this thing on Mod Podge, I'm going to add some glitter to it. I add some blue glitter, and then I add some white glitter, and then I just kind of rub it in and just trying to get it covered, but not completely covered, if you know what I mean.
Making our Christmas memories. Yes, these are the good times with you. Don't even care what we do if I spend it with you. Just you and nobody else. It's so good to see you again, to see you again. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire, chill.
Okay, now that I have all of that done, I have everything set out the way that I think that I want it to look. So all I'm going to do is take my hot glue gun and attach these little snowflakes as well as the little character faces.
Oh, da 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 da, oh oh, da 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 da, oh oh, da 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 da, making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately.
Okay, now that I have everything glued into place, I'm going to take some of this clear Rust-Oleum top coat, and I'm going to top coat everything because I didn't want that glitter to be flaking off all over the place, and this is a good way to seal it in. So now I have this white wreath that I actually built up from several of those little tiny puny white wreaths that you can get at the Dollar Tree. So this is just several of them intertwined together. So I'm going to plop that in the center of this and make sure that it's nice and secure. Once it's nice and secure, I'm just going to add some decorations. After I add all of the decoration kind of things in there, this DIY is going to be ready to roll.
Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh, la da da da, oh, oh, la da da da, oh, oh.
Okay, guys, so here's the finished product, and I wish I had the other two to show you guys, but unfortunately those sold. This is a picture I took at my craft show, and the other two sold before I could even get a picture of them, but I do have this last one that I took a picture of for you guys. This is roughly what they all look like. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will have some super fun DIYs coming up for you next week. Until then, bye!